Hello and welcome. I'm Josephine Corcoran, holistic career coach and astrologer, and this is my weekly Astrology for Business Live, where I bring you information about what's happening astrologically and with the moon to inform the energy that's taking place, because what is happening astrologically tends to be reflected here on Earth with how we operate on a day-to-day basis, both in business and in our daily lives, in our personal lives. And wasn't last week another big week? I did get quite a few people contacting me last week, thanking me for the weather, thanking them for giving them a heads up on why the energy was so intense. Hi Stephanie, thanks for joining me. Yes, and so in short, last week was a very strong focus around relationships, and there was a big T-square happening in the sky. And for the non-astro people that are joining me, but that are people interested in understanding the energy, the T-square really invites us to restructure. This particular T-square was really inviting us to restructure the way in which we are partnering with people and relating with people. But coming from a place first and foremost where we're very clear on who we are as individuals. We're very clear on what our vision is and what kind of goals we have, and then looking at who do we best partner with to make that happen in a professional setting and a personal setting. But because that was tied up with the planets that are very much connected to all of the restructuring that's going on this year, that was really inviting us to look at how do we restructure that. We were being really urged to make that happen. And then, of course, at the end of last week, we had the new moon in Libra, which is normally a very beautiful new moon, very much about relationships and setting intentions around relationships. However, there was an aspect in that new moon that made it a very difficult new moon energy. It was much more about, okay, well, how do we restructure our relationships? And that energy is continuing on this week. Hi, Lara. Thanks so much for joining. So, and of course, last week we had Mercury retrograde, which added even more energy and emphasis to everything that's going on. So, what's going on this week? So we've got a building or a waxing moon phase. So that always does bring opportunity brings new energy into things. But equally, whilst last week was a bit of a pressure cooker, this week we're going to start to see a bit of a shift. And that shift's going to be, okay, now that we've realized the kind of restructuring that definitely needs to take place, we've got an opportunity to get quite productive and think about, okay, I need to take action. I need to get practical here. And what are the steps that I need to take to make these restructures happen? So from a business context, it may be that you've realized there are people that you're partnering with, or that you're that are in your team, and it's coming to a bit of a crescendo that actually it's not sustainable, it needs to change, or it needs to end, the relationship needs to end. And in our personal lives too, it's really giving us an opportunity this week to think a bit differently about how we can restructure things so that we can operate efficiently and effectively without compromising things. So hopefully we feel a little bit of a change, and it's more of a, okay, it may not be easy what's going on, but I've got an idea. I've got this clarity about the fact that things need to change, and I'm going to take the steps to make that happen. So where we will... the key dates that are happening where that support for the restructuring is going to be happening, and to find the practical ways to restructure our work. Today at 6:35 p.m. Venus is going to be trining Jupiter. Then she's going to go on to trine Pluto, which will really support the activation of the transformation. That's on Thursday morning. And then Venus will be trining Saturn on Sunday at the end of the week at 2:40 a.m. in the morning. So really on Saturday overnight. And that will be again about finding practical ways to restructure money and relationships. So quite a big week of looking at, because Venus is involved, not just the practical machinations of the relationship, but the financial component of that as well. Now, the other thing that's going on this week is Venus, which she rules finances and she rules relationships and she rules how we connect with other people and she rules beauty. She's caught up in a grand cross, and whenever there is a grand cross astrologically, that energy signifies a forced desire to create the change. It's like the energy needs to find a place to go. Otherwise, it's going to sit and just churn us up. And she's involved in a grand cross where she's opposing Neptune. Now, that means that on the one hand, Venus is focused on being practical and being of service. And she's opposing Neptune, which is in Pisces at the moment, and really wanting to tap into our imagination and dream world and really working our intuition and engaging in mindfulness activities. So somehow there needs to be a balancing up where when we still the mind and when we go into that creative center and when we operate from a space that's connected to our heart, we're going to be more clearly able to figure out the relationship component. And that's opposing, and they are making a connection in with the nodes, the north and the south node. And the nodes bring about an element, a fated element of the new direction. And because the nodes are now in, the north node is in Gemini, which is all about hunting down new information and networking and finding new tribes. And the south node is in Sagittarius. So we're also all being invited to let go of outdated beliefs, both on a personal level and then on a generational level. And then if you think about it on a level, in terms of a social level and beliefs of how we socially need to be. So that invitation is happening very strongly this week. This whole concept of who am I relating with, and then how do I use my intuition and my tapping into my creativity to really get clear on that. And when I do, how do I move forward with and obtain the right kind of information, and what kind of circles do I want to be operating with? Who's in alignment with me in terms of how I want to serve the world and how I want to do business in the world. So that's quite a big energy this week. And then Mercury retrograde is continuing on this week. So it's still going to be going backwards in Scorpio, which means we're revising quite deep-seated things. And we're really going to be continuing to revise, rethink, redo. And don't be surprised if you're getting... if people from the past are getting in touch with you, especially if you are a Scorpio, and it might even be the case if you're Gemini and also Virgo. So yeah, that's certainly throwing an extra element of, if you like, confusion into the mix, and just slowing down the pace of things somewhat. If you feel a little bit like it's hard to get things done, that's a big part of the reason why. And I'm fingers crossed for you out there that technology hasn't been failing you. But what we are going to feel also this week is a shift, because the sun has been in Libra, although not in its finest form. It hasn't been as celebratory as it normally is in Libra, in terms of that joie de vivre and that really strong desire to be out there and connecting with others and relating with others. It's going to be making a change and moving into Scorpio at the end of the week on Friday at 9:59 a.m. And so, yeah, with the sun moving into Scorpio again, it doubles down on that intensification of the need for the transformation. So that'll be going on for the next 4 weeks as well. And we'll be feeling it all very emotionally, because Scorpio is a water sign and it holds things very deeply. It works on the subconscious realms. So November is also going to be a pretty intense month. But for this week, we're going to just start to see a little bit of that kind of change and that energetic shift from into a personal sense of, all right, how do I potentially need to be transforming so I can finally fly at the end of this year in the new world and the new era. Okay, so in terms of the void of course days this week, which is, of course, for those of you that may be watching this for the first time, when the moon is void of course, and that's what I'm talking about, it means it's not making a connection to any other planets. And when it's not making a connection to any other planets, it means that there's sort of no vessel, if you like, for the emotions to sit in. So the emotions can't go anywhere, so we can't exert ourselves. So it's recommended when the moon is void of course not to sign any important documents, not to launch any key projects or do any work that's brand new, because it's likely to not necessarily go anywhere. So if you can avoid doing any of those key activities during the void of course times, I really recommend it. But you can get on with the rest of your work and anything else that needs to happen. The moon's void of course as I speak now, and I'm still doing my work. So of course we can't stop and put tools down completely when the moon is void of course. Just be mindful that it's not a time to be putting anything new out into the world. Okay, so the days that it's void of course, it's today, Monday the 19th at 8:42 a.m. until 3:42 this afternoon. Tomorrow all day the moon is not void of course. Wednesday the moon is void of course from 2:38 p.m. until 5:43 p.m. Thursday it won't be void of course. Friday it's void of course 3:34 p.m. until 11:16 p.m. And then Saturday it's not. And then on Sunday it's void of course from 8:53 in the morning until the end of the day. Actually, I've got to double check. I think it's PM, 8:53 p.m. until the end of day. So quite a few void of course days there, Monday, Wednesday and Friday in the working week to sort of navigate your way around. And I did want to say that I am going to be sending out a weekly newsletter where I have a hard copy available for those of you that are interested in getting the details and the dates sent to you. All you need to do is sign up on my website and that'll put you through to the mailing list. And I'm also going to put a recording of the Facebook Live each week, so you don't necessarily have to check into the Facebook feed to get it. And then I am going to be organising to have a sign up button here on Facebook so that you can get it there as well. So just to let you know that I'll let you know during the week when I've got the sign up button available on Facebook if you don't go onto my website. Okay, so let's just look at the look at the lunations for the week and look at where the moon is and the energy on the day-to-day basis. So what we've got today, the moon is in Scorpio all day until 3:42. So the moon in Scorpio is always great for joint financial review, any kind of personal development where you're going deep into your subconscious and transforming. It's great for working with your intuition and doing mindfulness activities. And it's also really great for just generally tuning into any of the deeper aspects of life. Then what's going to happen is at 3:42, the moon's moving into fire sign Sagittarius, which is all about the big picture. It's all about acquiring knowledge. It's about having a bit of a desire to go on an adventure, even if that's virtually versus physically, if we can't get out of where we are. But essentially you'll feel this sense of, it can be great for goal setting, and it can also be great for just starting to take action. Hi Courtney, thanks so much for joining. So the moon's in Sagittarius all day tomorrow, so beautiful for planning adventures and that big picture goal setting component tomorrow. Wednesday, the moon is in Sagittarius until 5:43, and then it will move into Capricorn. So on Capricorn, we get this opportunity to take on really practical tasks, tend to work foundations and the structure of your work, money, planning and commitment. Now, on Wednesday and all day Thursday, the moon is in Capricorn, and then as well on Friday. So Thursday and Friday, you may feel quite emotionally charged as the moon is going to be passing through the clump of planets that are connected to the restructuring that's happening this year. Astrologers are calling it the COVID clump because we've got Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto all lining up in Capricorn restructuring our organizations, our business, our relationships with money. And with the moon going over that, it'll bring up an emotional connection to this restructuring and what needs to happen and the impact of that restructuring on you emotionally. So that's on Thursday and on Friday. But then late on Friday night, the moon will move into Aquarius, which is always amazing for networking and cooperating with others and the big picture thinking and coming up with innovative ideas. So the moon is great on Saturday and on Sunday for networking and being with friends and having a bit of a lighter, nicer time. And then on Sunday, the moon will be void, of course, for most of the day. So good for chilling. And then it will be moving into Pisces on Monday next week. So that's the weekly weather for this week. The transformation continues, and the transformation and full-on nature of things will be continuing to be pretty intense up until the end of October and November. So hang in there. You're doing an amazing job. Absolutely reach out and talk to people. It's a very profound time for doing personal development work, for working on your own goals, both professionally and personally. And I'm always here for a conversation if you'd like to explore what that could look like. As I mentioned last week, I've got a brand new program, a coaching program out that I'm coining The Bridge. And that's about moving from the era of 2020 and the 200-year Earth era that is wrapping up, and looking at what tools we need in place to be able to thrive in the air era, which is in 2021 and beyond. So if you're interested in finding out more about that, just get in touch. And I am going to be doing a bit of a webinar too, but the date's not quite landed. So look out and stay tuned for that, where I'll be talking about the energy of the end of 2020 and into 2021 again. So have an amazing, amazing week ahead. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will be back again next week with Astrology for Business. Bye for now.